Okay, hopefully everyone can hear me. The other attendee or speakers, maybe give me a thumbs up. Can you guys hear me? Cool. Okay, well, good morning or good afternoon with wherever you're dialing in from today. To start, I'm going to give a few ground rules. I'll do some introductions as well as lay out an agenda for today's webinar on accelerating mission readiness. And so before I do all of that, I just want to say thank you to all of the attendees for taking time out of your day to attend this webinar. We will be saving time at the end for questions. And so you should see a little chat icon in the bottom right there. Feel free to throw in any questions as we're going along. We do have our team actually monitoring that, so you may get some answers in real time. But for anything that's not answered, we will save 10 to 15 minutes at the end to handle those questions. And one more note on the chat section, we tend to get people dialing in from all over the country and all over the globe. So please feel free to throw in where you're dialing in from today. It's always fun for us to see where everyone's distributed. But in terms of introductions, I'll go ahead and introduce the full team of speakers here. And so I'm Tom Mersman. I'm the head of Federal System Integrators here at Rocket.Chat. I've been here for 4 years in all defense intelligence and system integrator work in North America rolls up through me. And I am supported on the Rocket.Chat side by Chris Skelly. Chris is our Chief Product and Business Officer. He's been at Rocket.Chat for over 5 years, based out of the DC area, has very intimate knowledge of what is required by these defense and intelligence agencies. And then on the Pexip side, we've got 2 people. We've got Pete McCarthy. He is the Vice President of Public Sector for Pexip's North American business. May not look like it. He's got decades of experience in this realm. So we're very lucky to have him. And then last but not least, we have Kyle Forney. He is the Director of Field Engineering in Pexip. He is out of Chicago. Had the pleasure of working with Kyle on many initiatives. So we're also lucky to have him. He's probably still reeling from the Bears loss, but I know he's excited to be here nonetheless. Cool. So moving into the agenda and what you guys can expect today, but more importantly, why are we here and why are we hosting this webinar? It's primarily because legacy tools are simply falling short in mission scenarios. And that's what we've been hearing from this community. And so, DoD and IC agencies need to operate at the speed of the mission and whatever that mission requires, but their current systems and tools can't keep up, and they don't have the necessary capabilities for today's warfighter and for the intel communities. And so, as you guys are very aware, geopolitical tensions are intensifying rapidly. Compliance requirements are evolving daily, and the demand for zero trust architectures is just no longer optional at this point. And today we're going to cover a few different things. We'll cover the program and mission challenges that we hear from our customers, why these legacy tools are failing to meet those, and how Pexip and Rocket.Chat are supporting these types of environments, highly classified programs, to enable collaboration where, when, and how it's needed, essentially. And we're also going to give you guys a brief demonstration of some of those specific capabilities and how they operate in those types of environments. And so, Kyle, I will kick it over to you on the mission challenges and legacy technology piece.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom. And, I think before we get into the nitty gritty of, what we have on the slide here, I kind of wanted to zoom out for just half a second and make sure that we all have some collective context into sort of how we got to this point right now. Way back in the early days, I think many of people who are on the call right now, especially if you've been in collaboration for a long time, you remember sort of Tandberg and then some of the IRC style chat options that were in DoD a long time ago. Those were sort of the early days of chat, I'm in presence, and collaboration within DoD. Completely separate systems, right? As you kind of move along in time, you kind of get into some tools like Cisco meeting server, Skype for Business on-prem, even some other, Cisco products and things like that, along with Jabber and, some of those types of tools where they're, more modern, still within sort of those, air-gapped environments, still sort of beholden to how those network infrastructures were set up at the time. But you do start to see that chat, I am in presence, and the, video component kind of come together as sort of one tool on there. you fast forward just a little bit more on there, and then there's obviously lots of discussion of Microsoft Teams coming to DoD for years, and then COVID accelerated that process, of course. And what we kind of see in that happens is Microsoft Teams may have extended some of the timelines on some of those legacy tools that were out there. The reason for that is because I think a lot of program owners and a lot of missions we're looking at Microsoft Teams to potentially replace some of those. They have to do their due diligence on some of those things as well. But within the last 12 months or so, I think there's been plenty of time now where we can really see that the dust has kind of settled on a lot of those things within DoD. And it's pretty clear. There's a lot of either program-based or mission-based audiences out there, very large audiences that either are not going to go to Teams right now or may never go to Teams for those things, just because the specific requirements for their mission or their program will not allow them to do so. And so what we hear in terms of some of the mission challenges that we get in, we get phone calls and emails in. Everything, kind of falls into one of these four buckets. I'm not sure this is a complete list, but it's a very good start on here. Fragmented and classified networks. Obviously, there are communication barriers that I think over time, as some of the requirements have evolved, the legacy tools that are in place have a difficult time sort of working cross-network or cross-mission partner, or even to allied communications. And so there's several issues that sort of come up from that. Disconnected and DDIL sort of environments. A lot of times at Pexip, we sort of refer to these as tactical or downrange sort of environments as well, where you may have a fleet of ships, or you may have remote military bases, or you may have field operations. At the end of the day, these tools seem to, or SaaS-based tools always seem to sort of fall short of whatever the mission criteria is for those. There used to be a term within DoD that you don't see quite as much anymore, but severability was kind of a big thing, where if part of a system goes down, or a large portion of the system goes down, it still needs to be functional for the portion of that audience that's still up and running. And I think a lot of the legacy tools that are out there are not able to meet that criteria. Cross-partner, kind of like I mentioned, some of the allied communications and, those sorts of things. That's a big one that we hear right now. And then, of course, throughout this process, right, how I was talking earlier about how Microsoft Teams kind of came in, the compliance requirements and the security requirements have drastically changed since some of these legacy tools were first implemented. They were designed for the network and for the time that they were implemented. And I think things like Zero Trust, as Tom mentioned, or CMMC 2.0, any of these, policies that are now in place, it is really difficult for some of those legacy tools to sort of meet the grade, for those items. So if we take a look at why they fall short on, some of those areas, obviously, any sort of cloud dependency, or any sort of legacy infrastructure that you have sort of designed on there, any of the new requirements that they have for severability, or, high availability or disaster recovery, it is very difficult for some of those tools to sort of meet that. Again, interoperability requirements. I think this is a really key one for us. Lots of different types of users, different devices, different mission partners have different tools that they use, and they just want everything to work on there. And right now, it's really difficult for some of those legacy tools to do that. Commercial SaaS offerings, obviously, this is kind of a no-brainer, I think, for a lot of the folks who are on the call. But anything with data sovereignty or anything like that, it's not like you can go out and just go get any old off-the-shelf tool for these. Some of them, these mission environments that we're talking about are very specific. And then, lastly, any sort of chat and federation in these legacy tools, it's not unified on there. And that's something that you really need to have. At the end of the day, mission owners need to know that the right individuals with the right level of clearance or capability or whatever they have are in the right place at the right time. And that's really all it sort of comes down to. So that's kind of why Rocket.Chat and Pexip have kind of come together over the last couple of years. We've had a very compelling sort of last year or so of conversations, and lots of partners that are, lots of customers that we can sort of talk about. But Peter McCarthy is going to go in to a little bit more detail about the offering that we have here.
Great. Thanks so much, Kyle. One of the things that I think is really important to start up with, especially coming off the holidays, is that we've really worked together for a long time. The Rocket.Chat team and the Pexip team. I know I've been working with Tom for well over 4 years. This is not a pop-up shop. We are working together on a daily basis, not just sales and marketing, which you might see on the websites, the fancy websites, but really our engineers. Our engineers are working together. We have cleared engineers going on site, solving mission problems. I think that's really important to note for those of you that don't know the Rocket.Chat Pexip story. And so I think Kyle set this up very nicely. So what does this mousetrap look like? Really together, Rocket.Chat and Pexip have built a world-class collaboration solution. We think it's both modern and secure. Of course, it has to be secure. But maybe more importantly is it's really ready for the mission and these unique missions that we get brought into. In many cases, we don't know who the end customer is, and that's okay. We just need to know what you need our solution to do. And really what we've done is we've taken Rocket.Chat's technology as the experts in real-time secure chat. We've integrated that with Pexip. We'd like to believe we're the experts in air-gapped on-prem video communications. And we've really built this platform that can be stitched into almost any mission environment. And that's what's really cool. And when I say stitched, we can move very quickly. We can get requirements and move out in weeks, if not months, and have something that's enterprise ready to go. And as you will see during the demo, the ability to escalate from a chat session to video is really powerful. And especially when the mission is so important that that communication tool cannot fail. It needs to work every time, and we take that very seriously. We've also added some critical features like persistent chat. And that's typically a requirement that we hear quite a bit, that ability to store the most important conversations that our customers have. And so a little bit more information about that solution. Really together, our solution offers our customers really complete control of the data. We talk about data control a lot, but I think when we start building these solutions with our customers, they truly understand what we're talking about. And also data sovereignty. Data sovereignty obviously has become crucial, especially globally. And we take that, both the data control and that data sovereignty, very, very seriously. Of course, Kyle teed this up as well as Tom. Our solution was really built to meet a zero trust architecture. Some of these older solutions were not. Very hard to meet a zero trust architecture if your solution was never designed to do so. And also other security controls like ABAC. We get ABAC all the time. And for those of you who don't know it, that's attribute-based access control. And that's something that we're able to do with this solution. Also centralized identity integration. Of course, encryption. We've been talking about encryption for 20 years, but still very valuable. And then something that not everybody might be as aware of is audit logging, which essentially is an audit trail. That's the who, what, when, and where. And again, our solution really addresses that, very nicely. And then really strict access governance. I think for many of you on the call that work with classified networks, that may be something that you're very familiar with. But again, we want to make sure we have that governance so that we can go on any highly secure network, especially classified networks. And then, in my opinion, the most unique part of our solution is really our ability to customize our solution. And that's really what makes us different than everybody else. We're not just painting a box green and shipping it to you. We're really trying to find out how we can integrate with the environment of the mission that you're supporting. whether you're the contractor or the customer itself. And really, the way we can do that is with our APIs and tool sets, SDK tool sets, and we're really able to then provide that unique flexibility, and in my opinion, that emerging technology that you can bring to your customer or your environment. So really, that's sort of it in a nutshell. We're very excited about this solution that we've built. We think it's highly relevant, especially during the times. And Tom, I'm going to pass it over back to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Pete. Yeah, and so as I mentioned, we are going to do a demonstration of some of these capabilities that both Kyle and Pete had just hit on, but I thought it would be important to also cover some real world use cases. And so this is more tailored towards the Federal System Integrator community because as you all, excuse me, are aware, the integrators do hold the keys to a lot of these programs and they manage a lot of the infrastructure for these end agencies. And so to highlight two different types of use cases that we solve, what we've seen is both Pexip and Rocket.Chat have been increasingly partnering with the SI community for specific classified program work. And we've seen a few different use cases. So that first one that you see listed here is the internal usage. And this is really common for us because the SIs have large teams that require secure communications for their teams and their employees to properly engage and collaborate to meet mission and program requirements and time constraints. And like Pete had even just mentioned, every program operates just a little bit differently. They've all got the same overarching DoD compliance requirements, but they all also have specific workflows that they need to be able to meet. A lot of times they're operating out of SCIFs, these secure facilities. And so they need to be able to communicate when and how it matters most. So that's the internal side of the house. But we're also starting to see, and have seen a lot of over the last year, is program delivery use or external usage. And so we see many integrators who handle the full technology stack for specific programs and missions. And they have had to go through the effort of replacing that legacy technology with Rocket.Chat and Pexip for the actual end customer agency here, or multiple agencies, which we've also seen. And so one of the things we notice in these scenarios is that, again, each program is slightly unique. And so the solution has to be interoperable or flexible to make sure that we are arming the system integrator to effectively support their customer with the most modern solution. And at the end of the day, what you really get is the ability to bridge industry innovation and mission security without relying on foreign cloud infrastructure. And so to give you guys two very real world scenarios, the first one I'll touch on is the use case number one, the external implementation for digital modernization from a system integrator that needed to modernize collaboration tools for a large federal agency. One of the unique things that we had to think about, and they had to think about, the challenge was they had to replace multiple tool sets. So when you've got multiple tools integrated on a single program, that creates a lot of issues in terms of people not using a uniform solution here. They didn't have that single unified component, which is actually more common than you'd think. And so the solution for this integrator was implementing Rocket.Chat and Pexip on-premise, air-gapped for over 4,000 users, while still meeting all of the DoD security standards, full data ownership, and ATO'd for IL6 style communications here, which is very important in the classified environments. And the outcome here is they were able to replace legacy technology with unified chat, voice, and video collaboration within compliant sovereign infrastructure. And so now their tool set is the combination of Rocket.Chat and Pexip, the singular solution where everything is auditable and trackable as well. So that was a real world scenario that we're very proud of. And then the second one, which has become a lot more common for us over the last year as well, is more geared towards the internal usage that we talked about, where it's being utilized by the employees of a system integrator internally. But that's the net new network scenario to support federal contracts across multiple programs and groups. And so if you think about it, these federal system integrators are out there winning contracts, winning awards, and work for the end government agencies. And a lot of times when that happens, they then have to go stand up a net new network to support the work they're doing for that program. And challenges do arise in these scenarios. And one of the ones we were able to solve very effectively recently was a large integrator was implementing a net new network. In order to do that, they had to not only get DCSA approval for that network, but they also needed to get approval for the tools that are going to run on that network. But the real challenge wasn't that. That's pretty common. The challenge was that they needed to support separate internal teams with varying ABAC and IL levels. What that really means is that they had engineers and employees that were working on multiple programs at once. And so they needed to have segregated communications to allow employees to do work across multiple programs, but make sure that there was no data leakage in those scenarios. And so the solution for them was, again, on-premise install of Rocket.Chat and Pexip to support segregated communications with full auditing capabilities, like Pete had talked about earlier. Specifically, when you have employees doing work across multiple programs, you have to be able to audit that to make sure there is no data leakage, essentially. And the outcome for them, real-time communications across multiple teams with complete confidence of data control and privacy, no data leakage concerns. And so as you see, and as we've been talking about, right, you've always got overarching compliance requirements, but each program is slightly unique and has different scenarios, which is where this joint solution really shines in these types of spaces. And so without further ado, Chris, I will kick it over to you to get into a demonstration of some of these capabilities and how it works in these environments.
All right, sounds good. So thanks, guys. Great intro. What I'm going to be going through is a recorded demo to try to show as much as possible in a short period of time. And my goal is to illustrate capabilities of Rocket.Chat, capabilities of Pexip, and also to demonstrate how our tight integration between the two delivers a ton of value for mission execution. Okay, so we'll be going through a few joint mission collaboration scenarios as we go. We'll be focusing on is showing how a team can respond to, well, first evaluate incidents, respond to incidents, escalate to real-time video calls related to an incident. And we'll also be showing how teams can collaborate cross-agency. So we'll be touching on federation capabilities, how that works. I'll explain a little bit of the background. So I'm going to go ahead and kick this off. You'll see me kind of pausing to talk a little bit about key items as we go. Okay. All right. So getting started, I'm going to be covering 6 topics. Okay. So to pause here, the 6 topics for context. First, we're going to go through some of the Rocket.Chat AI capabilities. That will cover summarization of conversations and how the knowledge base can be used by Rocket.Chat AI to surface information, valuable, proprietary, secure information in a classified, aware way to users. Then we'll touch on federated communications across independent, secure workspaces. Okay. We'll show an example, a really simple example of threat escalation. What we'll be emphasizing there is how Rocket.Chat and Pexip can be easily integrated with other systems to surface information to mission teams quickly. We're going to show how we will go from an async chat discussion to a video escalation in a team and how that is closely integrated, how we keep track of the resulting conversation associated with the channel. We're going to show you intelligent search, which is our Rocket.Chat semantic search, which can be used for operational purposes so that, you know, if I'm looking for messages from Tom or Kyle, I can find those quickly. But more importantly, enabling mission operators to connect the dots across different channels, different discussions, different teams to gain insights that they otherwise wouldn't be able to have access to quickly. And then lastly, we'll touch on ABAC. You know, as Pete was saying, ABAC is, of course, table stakes, continuous evaluation of the security posture of a team, the associated discussions, and making updates to access on the fly is a key part of what we do. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start this up again. I didn't master the exact timing, but I'll pause as we go. Okay. So we're going to start with conversation summarization and touch on the knowledge base. Apologize for the eye test. It's obviously really small print, but I'll explain what's going on. Our intrepid user in this case has gone into the system and they're opening up a thread. As you can see on the right-hand side, there's a lot of stuff going on in this thread. This is something that happens to us every day. It happens to mission operators every day, where you get started with your with your day, and you're trying to catch up, right? Efficiency, being aware of what's happening is super important. So I'm going to back up 1 second and explain what's happening. So in this conversation, the user is scrolling to the bottom. They're going to select summarize conversation, and Rocket.Chat AI is going to review all of those messages that have been received, and will summarize the conversation based on a configurable prompt that the team has set up, right? If the team has a certain structure of how they want the summary to be, that's all configurable, can be delivered to the users in a matter of seconds, okay? That's summarization, very important for mission teams who are operating quickly and in high intensity environments, okay? We're going to continue along, and now the user is jumping into a thread specifically with Rocket.Chat AI. Okay, what we're going to do, and what we're showing here, again, hard to see, but we're happy to demonstrate this in more detail with people later. We're using the knowledge base. So with Rocket.Chat AI, our customers are able to deploy our AI pipeline, populate securely their knowledge base with information that is segregated by classification level, fully encrypted at rest, so that users can access that data on the fly. In this particular case, we've loaded a series of threat reports. And the user, again, super small type, but the user is asking for a summarization of a recent threat report. Okay, so that's been added. The system is thinking, that thread appears, and what the user immediately gets is a summarization, again, based on their configured template of that threat report. It's all about accelerating the path to insight, right? And so in this case, just to emphasize it, when users are making inquiries and interacting with their data, everything is classification aware, right? If the user is top secret, they're going to have appropriate access to data in the knowledge base for that level. If they are at an unclassed level, there's certain information that simply will not be included or available to the AI agent for synthesizing the response. Okay. I'm going to show an example of that. In this particular case, quite the eye test. The user has asked for appropriate responses given this threat. That is populated with suggestions that have come from the operating manuals that have been loaded. And then in a final example here, the user has asked for somewhat disjointed but safe house locations. This is a really good example of how we generally show the classification segregation that we have in the knowledge base. In this case, this user has top secret clearance. They receive information about those safe houses, right? If they had a lower level of classification, they may get a response that indicates that yes, safe houses do exist, but they're not classed, but they don't have access to the locations. If they're an unclass, for example, the response they will get from the AI agent will be, we don't have anything on that inquiry, right? Everything is segregated. It's encrypted at rest. We actually segregate our encryption keys by classification level as well. Okay. All right, so we're going to go into real-time video escalation. This will be a little bit easier to see, not quite a small text. I'll explain what's happening. In this case, a user has gone into our cyber defense channel. It's reviewing various threads, opens up a particular thread in just a moment here, is reviewing and sees a comment that warrants getting the team on a call immediately. So what the user is typing here is a note to everyone saying, hey, everyone, we need to talk about this. Let's go ahead and jump on a call. We'll see that message send in just a moment. Okay, so that's been sent. User's jumping up to the header and clicking on the video icon. Okay, when they do that, a couple of things have happened. I'm pausing for a moment. So you'll see in the channel behind that we've recorded that the call has been initiated. So everyone in the channel sees that block that a call is underway and they have their join link. Okay. We have immediately popped open a secure Pexip meeting. Each of the users who have access to the channel can then join that Pexip meeting. We have alignment in terms of the controls relating to access to that room and the associated Pexip policies. Okay. One thing to note, also very small, but you'll see a Rocket.Chat icon on here. I'll come back to that in just a moment as we proceed. Okay. So the video conference is now live. Anybody in the channel can join, begin to have a live discussion about the particular incident. Okay. We didn't go through showing all of the users joined, so don't worry about the video side. But what we did do, and highlighting one of the items that Pete mentioned earlier, I've gone ahead and opened the chat that's associated with this video conference. This is what Pete was referring to as persistent chat. It's great that a team can escalate quickly and jump into a video call, but as with any video conference, you have the ability to have an in-conference chat, and it's oftentimes important to retain that conversation. Okay, so we're going to show you how that works. What we've essentially done is we've embedded a Rocket.Chat discussion that is a child object of the room so that the users can continue to chat within the video conference and that conversation won't be lost. I'll show you how that works. Again, in tiny type, our user is typing a message, dropping it into the conference, and it'll be hard to see, but what will happen is as soon as that's sent, up in the top corner, we now have a new discussion. So we have a discussion saying that on this particular date, Pexip conference call has occurred, and that conversation is being fully recorded. Okay, so we're going to jump out of here and jump back into Rocket.Chat to show what that looks like. Okay. All right, so moving away from the call, going over to that discussion, you can see that message that occurred in the video call is now available in Rocket.Chat. You can go back to that. It's a child of the channel, so it's associated with the channel going forward. And it also inherits all of the security settings of that particular channel and all of the access controls of that channel. Okay. Final note on this escalation and this tight, convenient integration that we have between Rocket.Chat and Pexip. As we've gone back into Rocket.Chat, what you see is there is that call block that I was noting before, where we see that the call is ongoing. We see a list of the users who have joined, and that's updated throughout. So as additional users join, you're able to see who is in the call. When the call ends, you have that as a record of who joined, how long the call was, et cetera. Okay. All right, let's progress along. Okay, so now we're going to take a quick look at intelligent search. As mission operators are very much aware, oftentimes you're dealing with a lot of conversations, a lot of information at all times. It's important in terms of just efficiency of your own work to be able to find messages that you're looking for. Like I mentioned before, being able to find a message that Tom sent me, but it's also important to be able to connect the dots on related items across disparate channels, disparate teams. So we're going to show how that works. This is also driven by the Rocket.Chat AI Foundation. So what happens is all of the messages within the workspace are indexed into vector embeddings, essentially, which are, again, all encrypted at rest, all segregated by classification level, so the users can make natural language requests. We find semantic matches and return the results. We'll show how that works. Okay. All right. So the user's jumping in, and if you can see it, we've jumped into the intelligent search agent. All the user has to do is ask a question. So in this case, they're saying, hey, any unusual traffic patterns? In real world, that would probably have a lot more detail. You know, is that network traffic? Is it shipping patterns? Whatever it might be. They ask the question. And what has now happened is the search agent has done a query against the vector embeddings, which again are fully encrypted. They've segregation by classification, so we can provide ABAC controls, and all responses are scoped to the rooms that the user has access to, right? So if I'm a user, I have access to 3 rooms, and I have top secret, then I'll get responses that are appropriate and are related to those 3 rooms that also match my classification level. Okay. So in this case, you can see we've gotten a whole bunch of responses. I'll go ahead and press play and see what we get next. Okay, so the user is reviewing the responses. They select the top item. Okay, to show this, we're actually just popping open another window. That link has taken the user directly to that conversation, right? So if they've come in the morning and they're saying, hey, I'm looking for this particular type of information, anything going on in my world, very quickly they can see that there's a conversation relating to some unusual traffic. They don't have to search through every channel. They're able to identify that there's something that needs to be reviewed. Okay, so in this case, to jump directly into that conversation, they're reviewing the information. And similar to what we were talking about before, I believe in this case, they're going to review some more and then I think open up a video call. Okay, I'll allow that to play out just a moment. Okay, actually didn't open up a video call, but that's all right. Salient point here, the key thing is all of the messages across Rocket.Chat are indexed. All of the retrieval is scoped to room access. We also have all of that data encrypted at rest, segregated by classification levels so that each user gets responses in search that are appropriate to their access, their security disposition. Okay. All right. We're going to touch on federated communications. We'll go through this pretty quickly. Tom, I think I'm running long, but just wave at me if I need to go faster.
I think you're good right now, but we'll do it.
Okay, so we're going to jump into a federated channel and I'll explain what's happening. So I'll pause for a moment. As Tom, Pete, Kyle had explained, each Rocket.Chat workspace, each Pexip deployment is its own enclave, right? And where federation comes into play is you have each of those as its own secure fortress, but you have the ability, where appropriate, in a controlled manner, to connect those workspaces, connect those environments with each other to enable cross-agency, cross-mission collaboration, okay? So in this particular case, the way that's done, our user is now going into a federated channel. If it was larger, you'd be able to see it's a different icon that indicates that it's federated. And it's starting to type a message, a little bit small to see, but in the list of users that they have added, each of the users that have a simple short name for their ID, those are users on this workspace. Several of the users have a longer, kind of fully qualified address. That's their name plus the name of the workspace. Those are federated users. Those may be personnel operating in a different agency that's connected to this particular mission, operating on a different workspace, okay? Once they're set up, once you've federated users in, all of the behaviors are simple, straightforward. You message as if they were on your own workspace. You don't have to worry about any special connections here. So in this case, just to demonstrate it simply, the user is typing a message, highlighting that intel is needed from each of the agencies relating to a particular incident. In this case, he's typing for a long time. That will be posted in a second. Okay, message is posted just like any other room. And what we're going to see in a minute is one of the users at the top here, Dan Taylor, who's operating on a completely different workspace, is going to see that message and respond. Okay, full federation, collaboration across agencies, fully controlled with whitelist controls, selection of which rooms can be treated as federated. Rooms that are federated have a clear indication of that. It is, again, secure federation with proper border controls between the workspaces. Okay. One note on federation before I move on and hit our last couple of minutes. When we think about federating workspaces, of course, the key consideration is the overall network fabric that the workspace and Pexip are deployed within, right? So if you have a workspace that's deployed within SIPR, you're going to be able to federate other workspaces that are deployed across SIPR, obviously with some other network considerations. Same thing, if you're in a fully air-gapped SCIF, then you're operating within a different topology, a different network fabric. At that point, you can only federate, of course, with workspaces that are operating within that same space. Okay, so that's one of the key things to think about. But across the network that the customer has selected, multiple workspaces can be federated with each other. Once they're federated, super straightforward for the users. They operate in the way that they're used to. Okay. All right. I continue along here. As mentioned, you can see Dan on a separate agency has replied. Our user is saying thank you. Very polite, always important. Okay, automated mission alerts. This is a really simple example, but an important point that we wanted to cover. In this case, you'll see that a message has been posted to a channel called with a user called Mission Bot. This is a really key part of the Rocket.Chat and Pexip integration and how we work. The Rocket.Chat Apps Engine is our toolkit that can be used to create simple but sophisticated integrations with other systems. So in this particular case, if there are other internal systems that, for example, are delivering threat reports, delivering various alerts that need to be escalated to the team, it is very straightforward using Apps Engine to create those integrations so that those systems, where needed, can post messages into a particular room. Again, it's all about accelerating access to information, making sure that the team has the information that they need at their fingertips. This is a very simple example where an update was posted from another system into Rocket.Chat. And I'm guessing in the video, we're going to go ahead and initiate a Pexip call so that the team can discuss that. Okay, same thing. Yep, we need to discuss that. Jump on a call, able to react quickly. Okay. All right, and then last topic, just to close things out, we're going to talk about ABAC. I'm aware it's difficult to see here, so I'll describe it as much as tracking to the video. So I'll pause for a moment. And Rocket.Chat ABAC, Pexip ABAC is all about continuous security evaluation, continuous access decisions. So Rocket.Chat supports several styles of ABAC. I think in this video, we're configured for an internal PDP or internal policy decision point model, where Rocket.Chat is actually aware of the attributes for each user. We've set attributes on each room that define which users should be able to have access to that room. And then that's applied as an overlay on top of our normal RBAC and room access controls. Okay, so just playing this out here, what the user is doing is they're adding a note to all of the users in the team saying that due to current events, this particular room is being elevated to top secret level. A little bit hard to see. Again, they're going to go ahead and send that, and then the room is going to be updated from secret to top secret. What happens at that point in time, and I think it's already been posted, 3 of the users who did not have appropriate access level for that room have been automatically kicked now that the room has shifted. Okay, kind of an important closing point, and this is one of the things that I'll pause on and close with. As the guys were mentioning, the reason that Rocket.Chat and Pexip have been working really closely together is we have common DNA. You know, both of our platforms have been designed from the ground up to be deployed anywhere. Right, that deploy anywhere model is really key for each of us. But also our security structures, our RBAC, ABAC policy capabilities are very well aligned. So as organizations are working to deploy Rocket.Chat and Pexip, that alignment makes it very easy to carry the concepts back and forth between the two systems to make sure that each organization, each agency are able to operationalize their security requirements very consistently and feel, experience, manage the two systems as one. So I know I covered a lot with a lot of really, really small typeface, but hopefully that's useful. And a closing comment on things. We are happy to dig into details on any of those topics. So please reach out to me, Tom, Kyle, Pete. We're happy to take people through more details.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Pete, I think we'll give it to you to wrap up.
Yeah, so thanks everyone. We really appreciate the time. Hopefully this was valuable. We really enjoy working together between Pexip and Rocket.Chat. As many of you have figured out through this webinar, this is complicated stuff. There's a lot of security and compliance. So the best way we can help you is really schedule a meeting with us. So please reach out to Tom or myself. We've got our contact information right here on the slide. And we've got very deep technical benches, engineering teams, including some with clearances all the way up to TS. We would love to have the opportunity to talk specifically about your mission and the problems you're trying to solve.
Great. And I think give everyone just a minute to see if there's any questions that did arise. I know our team was monitoring the channel, but let me take a look. Not seeing any specifically that were called out. And so just for you, everyone to be aware, we are going to send out the materials and the recording from today to all attendees. And so if there are any additional questions, please just reach out to us directly and we'll be happy to assist and help. But thank you to both the attendees and the speakers today. And that is a wrap for today's session.
Hey, Tom, I did want to add one thing. I just saw a message came in right at the end relating to providing training for administrators. And short answer on that is absolutely yes, for both platforms. So feel free to reach out to Tom and Pete on that.
Yes, of course. Thank you. I had just missed that. Perfect. Cool. Looks like we got it then. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and end today's session, but we appreciate the time and hopefully talk to some of you guys soon.
Thanks all.
Thank you.